What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and thank you for tuning in for another fantastic video. Today, we're going to be talking about six IPOs and how the IPO stocks kind of move and how, again, some are overvalued, some are undervalued, some kind of skews, and give me a little bit of subjective here. So if you're not into subjective or opinionated videos, go ahead and move along. See ya. Anyways, anyone who else is still there looking at these IPOs, really, I wouldn't say it's kind of screwing over individuals who are working at the company, and then, of course, much more early stage investors. It's really with the IPO pricing. I believe there's a little bit of a disconnect between the banks, the Wall Street folks. I almost say the Wall Street bets, the Wall Street folks, and then a disconnect from the company itself. We're going to be looking at Airbnb, DoorDash, PLTR, not Ubisoft, oh my gosh, and then Snow, and then Rocket. These are some, again, IPOs that came out this year. There's multiple newer IPOs that are coming out. We have Roblox coming out, which is, I don't know, I think that could really explode, to be quite honest, because I don't think the Wall Street folks quite understand what really that could be. With that being said, we're going to go diving into these charts, kind of looking at not just support and resistance, but kind of give a narrative and some kind of a thesis around these huge runs that we've seen with some of these IPOs. And then some have been somewhat of lagging. So we're going to start off first with Rocket Mortgage. And this is going to be a very clean chart, so be very mindful of that. And I think I haven't updated this here. Sorry, one second. This is still pulling from my old config. Anyways, so what are we looking at here? Rocket Mortgage. It came out fairly strong, around $20-ish, rose all the way up, like somewhat of a cup kind of pattern here, and then just skyrocketed higher to all-time highs at 35, and we haven't seen that since then. So let's go ahead and just look at that. Again, that was a huge run up on its overall expectation on earnings, and this is what happens when, I won't say the Wall Street bets folks, but the people who are really pumping up the stock don't quite understand it. Since it's a newer company, it's very, very first earnings ever going out. That could be very careful and be mindful of that. So what I really am pulling from is, like, if you remember Uber, if you were part of the Uber IPO, that was the same kind of scenario where we've came out. First quarter was a little blah, but then after the second and third quarter, it just was kind of just tanking. And this is usually what not exactly. And again, this is just this is not a mathematical fact formula. This is just opinionated pieces here. On it usually takes 2, 3, even a whole year of or 4 quarters, and this 4 quarters in a year, to really flush out what the company's about and really get the Wall Street's analyst community and that whole front of them to really understand what stock they're looking at. So this goes to either direction. This can go to the negative side, to the buy side, or to the sell side. So another one I'm gonna be bouncing around here. I'm gonna go free balling here. Beyond Meat, same kind of scenario. Huge run up on 2 or 3 quarters, okay? Then guess what? The second and fourth quarter really was a little bit of an eye-opener on exactly what the company's about. The analysts start understanding things. You had the less diamond hands, the IPO run-up and everything we've seen. It's kind of that same scenario. Now we're almost 2 years in at this point, nearly, and we're kind of consolidating. Guess what? At a somewhat of a reasonable price. Again, reasonable price, whatever you want to be looking at. If you're looking at PE, sales per whatever, if you're looking at net assets, if you're looking at book value, I don't care what you're looking at. But every single day that when the stock market opens up, there are men and women and everyone buying on really giving that price of the day. So what this whole theory of mine of IPO prices really comes down to is, like, in the short term, meaning the first, I don't know, the first 12 months to even like 3 to 6 months, it's going to be very difficult for that IPO to be priced because there's so many different parties that are coming together and they're trying to fight for what is the true value. One party wins more than the other and things like that. So it's kind of, I hope this is kind of making sense. It makes sense in my head. I hope I'm blurting it out and actually makes you guys are actually understanding this, because I feel like I'm just kind of just speaking gibberish here. So with Airbnb, the one that we just saw go live just a couple days ago, of course, was very hyped up. There were multiple articles that in April and March that Airbnb is just going to go out of business. Sadly, they had to cut a lot of staff and headcount, but that was necessary for the business to survive and really get to the stage where we're currently sitting at here. With, again, coming out very strong, hitting up and normally what they call an IPO cherry pop day. We ran up all the way to nearly 165, and then guess what? Gave it all back, and over the past 3 or 4 days came all the way down to around that 120 level, then did a complete about face and did a V-shaped recovery, now testing those levels again. What's going on here? It's just the short-term movement that we're seeing in this IPO. You have the bulls and the bears, which we always have these, the bear and then the bull. They're always constantly fighting, dictating on what price this stock or any stock should be in the overall market. That's what the stock market is, everyone. It is basically people dictating, giving their opinions into the market. Hey, I'm willing to buy Airbnb. I'll buy 10 shares right now at $155 or $156, wherever it's currently sitting. You are giving that go ahead with your capital, saying that you're okay with that price. That's what you're dictating into the world. That's what you're dictating into the market. So on the flip side, you see the thing with Dash. Again, they both kind of came around at the same time. Dash opened up nearly up to $195, nearly $200. But then we've seen a very sharp decline all the way down to 147 today. Now we're bouncing off that level again. Why did it bounce off 147? This thing was originally priced at, I think, like $60, $70 or $100, whatever, like substantially less where it currently is. Like it ran up substantially from its start date to the thing. It's the same thing when we jump to the very next one. Where is that? Snow. Sorry, I'm going to go to Snow first. Snow, if you don't remember this thing, we did a live stream that day. It came all the way up to $320. Then after that, people forgot about it. I don't know what. It just did next to nothing. It kind of had a couple bloopy bloops there. But again, once that first earnings coming out, that expectation was like, it's been beaten up. Many people were watching it. It was supposed to be the IPO of the year. It was the fabulous CEO who ran ServiceNow, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that in the comment section. I know someone will. I'm looking at you, David. With that being said, really tight consolidation in that range that we saw around 250, and then it just bursted out of a bat out of hell and ran up all the way to $230. Again, earnings was a miss, or I mean, not the fundamental side of things, but just it sank substantially. But it did an about face, and over 2 or 3 days, it ran up like $120. And guess what? It came right back down to the 21 EMA here on the weekly chart or the daily chart. Initially looking for this potential to consolidate around 319 to 325, and we can potentially get a run up past 348 to even the $400 level once again. So this is super strange on how these markets are looking at. So Unity, this is a stock I actually like a lot, and the whole video game section is just blowing off. You see that with Activision, Take-Two Interactive, EA, and then even like GameStop. Like this whole gaming segment is really taking off. You have the Roblox IPO we just talked about as well. This thing has been performing fantastic. I had this stock, honestly. I think I bought it at like 60 something, $70 or something like that. But then I got stopped out somehow at like 100 and something. Yeah, it came down and I got a little scared there. I wanted to lock in some gains. And I took a cut and I took it off the table. I was, again, I'm human. I make mistakes, whatever. but it's been holding that 21 EMA very well, and potentially looking for a test to at least 166 to 170 if this overall trend can continue. So being mindful of that, but this one has not had earnings yet. And going out looking for where this earnings could be, we can kind of look at the options tree and see the very high implied volatility, and most likely it's going to be happening the end of January, most likely, just looking on the implied volatility. So basically earnings in a month, we could get a run up into earnings. Again, with anything with earnings, if you know anything about me, earnings is a coin flip, especially on these newer ones. You saw that with Snow. It was down, but then it made an about face and just took off like a rocket. So be very careful, especially with earnings and especially with calls, and especially with short dated calls, because that theta will cut you, really just annihilate you. With that being said, I like it, but just be very careful with this. Of course, we have to talk about PLTR. This has been an absolutely IPO came out, nothing, no one cared about it. People called it a sketch business, whatever. Made fun of the CEO with his crazy hair and everything. Whoever, whatever. Interesting business. Enjoyed it. A lot of folks within our Discord bought it just as a long-term hold. I don't think anyone really saw this coming, this fast run up that we are seeing here, and really is blowing up here. Still, again, consolidation phase. And really seeing on how and where can this can go. It had earnings, again, pulled back just like Snow, and then just took off again with earnings. Again, huge run up, again, huge explosion of FOMO. A lot of people, Wall Street Bets was all over this stock, so that really moved this stock quite a bit with a lot. Again, don't discount those retail investors. If you have 1 million people all buying, I don't know, $1,000 worth of shares, that can move the stock. So that being very mindful out there with this PLTR, initially looking for some support around 24.10, again, kind of where the 21 EMA lies on the daily chart, and potentially seeing it to try to break at least $28 to $30 in the near term. And then what other stock did I haven't done? I think I did them all. Did Rocket, yep, I did them all. So basically what I'm trying to say here is just being very, very mindful on how understanding the movement with these IPO stocks. Again, some of them have been completely fantastic, and then they just flop for whatever reasons in 3 or 4, 6 months. Like, everyone loved it, but now why does everyone hate it? Because there's a next new shiny object over there they want to run to and put their money into that. So be very careful with this. These are not putting all your eggs in one basket kind of trades. They are a little bit more speculative. I will be doing a video kind of on the same parameters of these IPO stuff, but with SPACs. So basically with that is basically not all SPACs are created equal. There are good ones and there are bad ones. Basically, it's just like SPAC is, for me, is like you're going to be trying to buy a used car. You want to buy it from someone that you can trust, someone that you know has a good track record, not a sketchy company that you just never heard of, or they're just going to be giving a blank check to this EV company that makes skateboards, but they also make RVs and all, whatever. Like, there's a completely crazy amount of SPACs right now, and it's great. It's a great opportunity, but just have to be very careful out there. All right, guys, thank you very much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe on the way out the door, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.